Yeah, let me give a real example of that too. Efficiency and utilization are two different things, and being able to couple them together is really powerful. And specifically, an example would be that, let's say somebody had gone over the time allocated for them on the job, and they're saying, well, this part, in the past they could have just said, well, this part took so much longer to run. Whereas now, I look at the stripe chart, I know when they were running that job, and I can say, okay, well, why was there 5 minutes between loads every time or whatever it was? And so you have the visibility of seeing, well, you weren't fully, your utilization was down, and that's why your efficiency was hurt, so you get a lot more visibility when you tie the two together. Automating it where there's, in Alora and ECI helped us with this. We used to do a lapse time where they would enter their time after they finish a job, while transitioning to start stop on jobs really helped remove a lot of the ambiguity and also give us a lot more visibility. And so when you couple that with the machine monitoring, you've really got the full picture of saying, okay, well, this job went over, but what other factors are telling a story there based on the utilization rate of that machine. So, and one thing we're working on this quarter with a dashboard with the Alora team that takes an employee's utilization rate and their efficiency, and it's called the Employee Performance Dashboard that we're developing. And pretty excited about that. Our goal is to actually compensate our employees Q1 of next year, bonus them. They've always only been bonused on the company KPIs. So we want to bonus them when they make more money on the job than we had planned for, actually put that money back in their pocket. And that's what we're working with Alora and ECI on right now, which I'm really excited about. Something I've wanted to do for 10 years. So
boy, Lance, I'm really glad you mentioned that piece. Not to toot any horns, but Kate, you had asked a question earlier of Lance around how his employees were receiving this and how they felt about it. And what we really want to draw back to is, how does this impact the culture? What does this do for your employee culture, both at the shop floor level, at the operator level, front office, back office? How does your culture kind of change? And Lance is picking up on some of these, being a very forward-thinking leader in the industry by incentivizing his employees through the increase in utilization that's experienced through this better data stream. So everybody's making more money, and he's able to actually incentivize his people to turn some of that back onto them to get more out of the existing process. And they're empowered. They want to do this. It's something that they want to be a part of.
Yeah, one thing.
I think that's fascinating.
That's a question that I've been a reference for Alora, and that's the question I always get every time is, well, how do the employees feel about this? Do they think it's going to be micromanaged? Are they, do they not like this? And the reality is that people, well, I'll say what we've done a poor job historically is giving people performance reviews. We tell them good job when we notice good job, and we tell them bad job when they screw up, but we run so lean that we weren't good about giving employees, consistently giving reviews. Well, through these tools, they're able to see how they're doing at all times. And so people want to know how they're doing, especially when you're running a machine all day, pushing a button. You're going to be bored, you're going to start to fall into a rut. But when you can see how you're doing and see your improvements, now doing the same thing all day, every day, actually is gamified in the sense that you can track your performance. And so people, it actually does the opposite of what people are worried about being micromanaged. When you first bring in the software, sure, they're like, oh, what's going on? There might be a little bit of questioning, but once they have the data in front of them, they can say, oh, this is how I did. Now I know how I did. And now I can beat that today. It gives them energy, positive energy. It makes them feel good about themselves. So I'm sure that's a question that people have out there, and understandably so. I had the same exact concern, and actually did talk through the same points with a reference before I rolled out the Alora. So I just wanted to address
that's on an interesting point.
That's excellent.
Sorry to jump in, but you're actually pointing out, Kate, back to a question that you asked was, how do we know what needs our customers have? Well, guess what? What we're hearing more and more these days is resources. We're struggling to find resources. Finding qualified people and then retaining good, talented people is a struggle in today's market. And what Lance just hit upon is a way of not only identifying who the good people are, right? But ultimately making it so that those good people can identify themselves back to management and ultimately then be retained as a good employee. I mean, it's a great win-win scenario for employee and employer to be able to notice not only who am I incentivizing correctly, but also then who surprises me? Who am I caught off guard by this that really is either better or, maybe not necessarily, better, sometimes worse than what I had initially thought. It's a beautiful way of measuring and managing that does provide that gamification, right? Especially as our workforce gets younger, and I used to be one of those younger workforce people, not so much now, but those folks are so bent on that screen time and that interface. This does allow them to have that feel as they're going through their day. And it is a beautiful marriage between technology and humanity.
And Andy, not just on the, Andy just hit on a whole bunch of great points, but from the aspect of how are we incentivizing people, how are we rewarding them, how are we retaining employees, but also getting you another layer of analytics. What's wrong in this area? Not necessarily what's wrong with this person. I had a customer once come to me who said, guy whose blowgun's busted on his machine, he can't blow chips off. So we've got a big piece of downtime that we don't know what's going on and why the machine keeps going down. Well, his blowgun's busted and he's either got to brush the chips away or he's got to go to another guy's machine and get another blowgun to start blowing chips off. What is the question that we need to ask of the process when it breaks down, and how quick can we get out in front of that issue? While some people may identify what people back in the old days used to call a personnel issue, there may be something that's complicating that or getting in the way of that person being the best possible machine operator they can. So you've got
yeah, and people, I always say this, people survive the experience. It's like, especially when they're on the floor, they're just trying to get their job done. And so they're going to survive the experience. And it's like, no, we got to get to the root cause of what the issue is. But you don't know that if you don't have that visibility, to see this, what's going on during this big window of time, because they're just going to survive the experience out there. And by getting the data, that's the type of stuff that comes up in these weekly huddles where they're like, hey, I could have done better if I had this, and so, our different departments have implemented different things to help themselves be more, increase their utilization rate, but which otherwise never would have happened because they would have just survived the experience. So it's the data, it's the communication, it's all that. I love, and I want to also say you cannot use any of these tools as a whipping rod, because it's gonna do the opposite. But if you use it as a tool to like, hey, help me, like Mark said, it was really, help me understand what's going on here. Why is this? Why are you having such long breaks between cycles? Oh, well, that's because of this. Well, why didn't you say something, Dylan? I bought you a new blowgun 5 years ago, and but that's just how they are, I mean, they just want to get their job done. And so people don't want to rock the boat a lot of times and ask for things. And so you've got to be able to use it as a tool to understand and get into their world and help them do their job better.